Alright, let's look at transparency in the UDK. Now this is going to be a shorter tutorial. It's just to answer a question. So I have this scenario set up, a little bit of a scientific project here. So I have two shapes. Shape 1 is red, shape 2 is blue, and I have an ugly pink background. Okay. Just in case you never made an alpha channel, let me delete that. Notice that these are separate. Two different layers. If I hold control over the top layer, it highlights my shape. And I'm going to make a new alpha channel. Window, channels, click here. And on one side, I'm going to fill this with a 50% gray. So type in 50% right here at the black value. Just filling that in. And then white over on the other side. This would stand to reason that shape 1, which is red, would be 50% opacity, and this is 100% opacity, or opaque. So this is opaque, this is 50% opaque. Alright, so let's save this out. We're going to save this as a Targa file. I'm going to call ugly pink with layers, alpha channels. Hit OK. It must be 32-bit pixel. And in the UDK, all I do is import that in. Let's be fair about it. There we go. So now I know I'm not cheating. I'll import ugly pink and choose to make a material. I'll double click the material. So our mission is to get rid of the pink, right? Well, two different ways we could do that. One, we could just mask it out via the black. Anytime that it sees black with the alpha, anytime it sees this, it will decide to use that as a transparency. Okay, to do that, we set it to alpha, opacity mask. And then here in the properties, which I usually have over on my secondary monitor here, but we could set this to blend masked. There we go. Now if I set this to two-sided, I can see through the object and onto the other side of the material. So that's kind of cool. But that will not take advantage of the 50% gray that I put in there. And the UDK is very picky or particular about that 50% gray. Now there's another feature in here called bias or clip mask value. And what that is if you look real close at the edge here, it's pink. If I put that at 0.1, you can see it becomes more pink. And if I put it at 1, it totally disappears. But also, the one shape disappears. So, if I put it at like 0.8, 0.6, 0.5. Okay, so as I raise this value up, I might get back my other side. There we go. So all that is doing, it notices black and white, and it tells the engine that that gray is now black. Okay. So let's look at the other way to do this. I'm going to right click here and break link and put this on opacity. Okay. Then nothing happens. Whoops. Stupid property window. See if I can get this lined up. There we go. Now here, instead of blend masked under material, I'm going to use additive. It's two-sided still. And you can see the blue one is just a little bit more opaque than the red. Not much though. And as I said, it's very particular about that 50% gray. So changing these values here is not going to change the actual gray mark here. You have to do that in Photoshop. So in Photoshop you can make this a little darker. And save that as a Targa, ugly pink. So your workflow is you can save it within Photoshop and then go back to the UDK. I would save this out, go back to Content Browser, right click on the texture and say re-import texture. And there we go. Now you can see the blue is a little bit more opaque than the red. Not by much, but it is. So very sensitive things. Alright, but that is transparency in a nutshell, broken down to a little tiny example, and I hope you enjoy. Have fun with transparencies.